Funds for this program are provided by underwriting grants from the Eastern Educational Television Network and by Drum Corps International.
Now, your job is to coordinate at the top level everything that goes on, and this is a full-time job. This is not a part-time job that you do while working someplace else.
No. It's a full-time job. There's 3 of us that are full-time professionals that operate an activity throughout the United States and Canada.
Now, how did this entire drum corps get so popular that you have to have full-time people working on this all the time?
The drum corps really has blossomed in popularity primarily by PBS coverage. It's been in existence for 58 years. It's not a new product. It's not a new project for youngsters. It's been around a long time. It just hasn't had the opportunity to have national recognition.
How has it changed in the past couple of years? Is it the advent of lots of songs like Rocky instead of your traditional, or what one would think of as your military music?
Well, the activity was not in the position to govern itself in terms of what it could be, what kinds of instruments it could play, what kind of programming it could have. It was restricted by external organizations. And Drum and Bugle Corps took it upon itself around 1970 to organize its own activity nationally and internationally, and formed DCI.
Now, speaking about internationally, you want to go to Europe with these corps. What's holding you back? Money?
Yes.
As always?
Yes, money is a primary factor. The interest is there. If we can get the drum corps that we have here, bring them overseas, the activity, which is in its neophyte stages, will just blossom.
Do you think that people have a preconceived notion about drum corps, that they hear the word and they immediately think, ooh, I don't think I'll like that?
Well, most people relate drum and bugle corps to those things they see in parades.
Yes.
Well, the drum and bugle corps you see here tonight are not at all parade
John Philip Sousa. People have a hard time getting away from that.
It wasn't until recently, because of the instrumentation, we could even play John Philip Sousa.
But I think a lot of people thought that that's
more like you're in the Army now. You know.
Now, surprisingly, you are not interested in developing more corps. Why is that?
Well, we have to, because Drum Bugle Corps hasn't been organized. It hadn't had an opportunity to communicate, to develop the sound base of management and instructional needs that it has. We have brought them together every year now, and they talk to one another. They deal with the problems. They have a better understanding of what it takes. Until we can develop the base from which the activity should be operating, we want to make sure the corps that we do have are strong before we encourage more corps to.
And do you have a lot of interest in people? I imagine seeing this, that a lot of people would think, hey, it'd be neat to have it.
Yes, but Drum and Bugle Corps is an extension to existing music education programs within the community, or an alternative if one isn't available.
Fine.
And there aren't that many of it not available.
That's right. Thank you, Don Passione. And our next group will be the Boston Crusaders, obviously from Boston, Massachusetts, and they're on the field right now.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Mark, time, mark.
Gene is the guard captain of 27th, and now we talked earlier in the winter. Now, Brett, she, as I told you, was a high-energy show.
Whoa.
The color guard has long been just a very solid part of 27th show. How do you stack up this year's guard with what they're doing compared to past years?
This year's guard does more than I've ever seen a guard do in my life. I sometimes wonder if I'm going to have to carry the girls off the field.
Now, I understand that's not uncommon for people to actually pass out at the end of a competition.
At the end, yes. At the end. These
They'll be
kids
penalized during.
Yes.
That's very true. If the person himself goes, that's not so bad. But if they drop equipment when they go, then there's a problem.
Yeah, that's a 10th. If you faint and you drop a piece of equipment on your body, that's a 10th.
A tenth of a point, and every tenth of a point counts in these competitions.
Gene, let's get into your role a little bit. You're a member in the Corps, but yet you've got a lot of heavy responsibility on your shoulders as guard captain.
I guess so. I am kind of what you call a do-everything, kind of a gal Friday for the Corps. I do everything that no one else wants to do. I do everything that everyone wants to do.
Some of these everythings are.
This. Most kids can't do this. I'm very fortunate for that.
You are also the disciplinarian, I
Yes.
understand. Tell us in what form that takes.
I make sure that the girls are at all times good representatives of the Lancers, which I am very proud that they are, and that they always do what they're told. If they have a problem on tour or when they're away from home, I'm kind of the mother, the babysitter, the advice giver, everything.
Now, you're part of the Over to the Hill gang this year, right? You turn over the right magic age.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Is that going to hurt?
Oh yeah. I've been in drum corps for 11 years. It's my life. I'm sure I'll instruct after.
That's the thing.
You will continue. I notice that a lot of people who do graduate come back as instructors. They do something to stay involved with the Corps.
Can't get it out of your blood, huh?
Oh, definitely, especially not the Lancers.
What is it about it? Is it the applause? Is it the practice sessions? I'm sure you grow very close to the other people in the Corps.
They're my family. I see these people more than I see my family. I honestly do. I love them.
We have enjoyed watching you. Now, next we have the
Thank
North
you, Jim.
Stars, and they are from North Shore, Massachusetts. They finished 7th in the competition, and we'll take a look at them now.
One time, punch!
our next guest is Ralph Pace, and he is the artistic director of both the Crossmen and the 27th Lancers. Now, isn't that rather hard to be coordinating for two groups? Don't you have a conflict of interest there?
It's more like a tennis ball bouncing back and forth. You try to be as separate as possible with both corps.
Separate but equal, is that possible?
True, very equal, yes. It's as possible as the kids will allow you to do. The final product is totally left up to the kids themselves.
I was going to ask you, the people who are out there, the young people marching and drumming and doing all the rest of it, they do have some input into this.
As far as when we get into a bind and we need a feeling for something, we ask for, well, what do you feel here? What's your emotion? And they usually come up with the right thing, the right excitement as far as a kick step, a feeling of laughter, a jump, that type of feeling.
We should get into Ralph's job a little bit now. Ralph is a drill designer. He takes the little dots, puts them on the paper, and makes it come to life out there. Let's go from step one. We've got the program, the music selected. Then what do you do from there?
I go home and I sit down and again listen to everything as far as the selections for hours and try to come up with a concept that we as a group, meaning the bugle instructor, the percussion instructor, and my staff that I have to work with, until we finally work up the product, which could be months. We actually started, just say, with the Crossman show, which is just going on back in October. For the off the line alone, it took us close to 3 months to pull that product
Now,
together.
if the 27th Lancers finish higher than the Crossmen in a competition, do they ever feel that you have given the other group a better routine, so to
No, they're
speak?
just sort of happy. Each corps is just trying to be number one. We try to teach them that it's not who you beat, it's how we get there. The gold orientation, that's the main product.
What is the response in Philadelphia, a big city with a lot of things to do? Do you find that in a city that size that people are less interested in corps than they are in, say, a small town?
No, I think it's usually better in the respect that...
We have a lot of people here who are very interested.
I don't think whether you have a small town or a large city. When it comes to kids, everybody's interested. They want to help in every possible way. So really, there is no difference between a big city and a small town.
Hoffman, the designer, coordinator, just about anything and everything for the bridge. Bob, I guess it's a compliment to say they were probably more off the wall this year than I've ever seen them.
Really? Well, we put a lot of energy into creativity. That's one of our most important products.
How do you even begin to go about putting together a program like that?
We have a staff of 15, and everybody has pretty much equal input to what we do. So when we brainstorm, we have a lot of ideas coming across. And basically, we're into entertaining. So we put our energy into that. And if we can win while we're doing it all, that's super, too.
Have you had any problems with judges who like the more classical, traditional drum and bugle corps presentation?
Yes, for sure. You know, it all stems back to the military. That's where it all came out of. And we're so far away from that sometimes we do have people that turn off to it. But usually the judges are pretty open-minded about it all, and they'll evaluate whatever it is you're doing.
In the long run, though, would you rather please the crowds or the judges?
Well, I'm really enjoying pleasing the crowd right now, so maybe we'll tune in next year and see if I have a different feeling, but right now I'm into the audience.
You're the defending champions here. It'd be nice to make it 2 in a row, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be super. It'd be nice. We just did a nice job tonight, and I got my fingers crossed. There's a lot of good corps here tonight. It's a great show, really.
The performance, you know, was there from a GE standpoint, getting the audience. How do you go about, this is somewhat technical, perfecting the show? We call it cleaning. How do you clean a program like that?
In each one of our pictures, we have maybe about 10 sets. So we paint marks right down on the ground. And we have people go to the marks until they, it's like the road system in the sense that they just keep doing it over and over, and eventually they have it down. Then we go on a field like this. We use all the lines. We use all the orange cones down the front sideline. We use some of the numbers on the fence here. So we have a lot of reference points to check out.
How long does it take for the members of the corps to learn that?
It takes about 8 hours to learn 2 minutes of drill, and it takes forever to perfect it. We run out of time at August 18th.
Oh, I can imagine. And you start practicing again for next year right after the championships in December, or in August.
What we have is maybe 3 more shows at home in Jersey. We take off for 3 weeks, and we start the 1st of October. And we spend the first 6 weeks recruiting and putting together new people. And at the same time, getting the format for the new show.
have the president of that group now, Robert Keesting, and he is also the past president of the Phantom Regiment Booster Club, and that's the all-important group that provides money for these corps to travel around the country. Is that a hard thing to do, to generate the interest, to get the financial backing that's needed?
Generating enthusiasm within the parents rubs off from the enthusiasm generated by the kids, but to build and engender that enthusiasm does take a great deal of work. But
So
that's the way to be successful.
It's not just the parents then who have to support this.
Yes, we started out mostly with parents, and through the years have generated more enthusiasm, and now get people who had a child in the Corps or even relatives in the Corps, and they come join our booster club and come and help work.
It's not cheap to travel around the country. $40,000, I believe. It goes even higher than that, though. What is the figure?
Well, just for transportation, probably this year, we would look at probably $65,000 or $70,000.
To look at their whole picture, I think some people would be surprised. Now, you take a youth activity and everything involved. What are we talking annual budget?
For the two drum corps with approximately 235 youngsters involved, our annual budget will be probably $135,000, $137,000.
That's almost as much as we make in a year there, huh?
The Kilts group from Wisconsin, I believe, are trying to buy their own gas station. They say this will provide jobs for the members of the Corps and also provide some revenue. Now, you guys must have some money being generated to ever go out and buy something like a service station.
Yes, we aren't at all interested in buying property. This is one of the difficulties with a youth activity which is chartered by the state as a not-for-profit organization. We are not allowed to have or be in business to make money. We do sell things. We sell approximately 14,000 pizzas every year in the month of February to the people in Rockford, frozen pizzas.
2, fight! Up, 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 up!
Right now we have a founder and director of the Blue Devils from California, Concord, California, Jerry C. Wright, and welcome.
How you doing? Thank you.
You also have another job. You're a stockbroker. How do you have the time to do both?
Well, that's a pretty good question, really. I just make the time to do both. It's 2 full-time jobs.
You sort of got into this core business through the back door, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Your daughter was involved and you were chauffeuring her back and forth. How would you say a parent reacts to a child who is involved in this? Is this a good activity for a parent, or should they be willing to devote a lot of their time to hauling children back and forth to rehearsals.
I don't think that's necessary, at least to the sophistication that we're involved with in drum corps. We like to have parent participation. We need them. We need their help.
Gary, we talked about touring just a minute ago. Now, your corps, coming from California, you're well a ways from Allentown, obviously. You spend like 42 days on the road. Describe a typical tour situation.
Well, that's a pretty heavy question.
That's why we have you here.
Touring normally starts at about, we get up about 7 o'clock in the morning, have a typical, what we call tour breakfast, which consists of cold cereal, tang, a few times we'll have hot breakfasts.
And where have you spent the night? This is the interesting thing.
Well, we usually spend the nights in school gyms.
In sleeping bags.
Yeah, sleeping bags in school gyms.
On the cold, hard floor that turns awful soft after about 3 days.
You betcha, and cold showers.
The schedule for the kids on tour with rehearsals and shows, they really have to learn to exist on pretty minimal sleep, and they're always going.
We try to provide a lot of sleep, though. That's one of the philosophies that we insist upon. We try to give them 8 hours sleep. Even if we're traveling all night, we make sure they get an additional 4 or 5 hours sleep after we reach our destination.
What's it like for a parent to have a child in the corps? I mean, does it give you a good feeling knowing that they are doing something that takes perfection, self-discipline, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. That's the one thing I've got out of drum corps in all the years I've been in it. Seeing these young people come into the corps, maybe a little bit introverted, and leave sure of themselves with their shoulders back and face the world, I think, with an entirely different attitude and direction.
On the starting line from Concord, California, the Blue Devils.
Go, color guard! Go for it, ladies!
Judges, are you ready? Is the corps ready?
One, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
.60. The Madison Scouts.
This program was made possible by funds provided by underwriting grants from the Eastern Educational Television Network and by Drum Corps International.
In second position, with a score of 82.80, 82.80, the Phantom Regiment. Competition with a score of 83.30, 83.30, the Blue Devils.